Hello. Hello, friends. Hello, friends here, and hello, friends online. I'm here to talk today with you all a little bit about just some of the learnings that I've found in my own work, but also in reading and understanding the history of both anarchist and pirate organization and organization methods, and hopefully a few things to think about as we continue to go forward into the next 20 years. For those of you who, I know everyone here now, but for those of you online who don't know me yet, my name is Rose Klein. My moniker online is Yari, Y-A-R-I, so if you've ever seen me on the server, that's how you will see me. I am one of the members of the California Pirate Party, and so I'm here as the rep today. And I was the chair of the USPP before Anthony, AJ, and yeah, so that was, when was that? Someone help me out, I don't actually know when that was.
I think that was
22, 21, 22?
I think you got elected in 21 and then the 22 conference when AJ came in.
That sounds about right. Yeah, it was while I was in the middle of grad school, which was maybe not my best decision, but worthwhile and very exciting, and I'm proud of the work that I've done. Yeah, I'm just gonna get started. I don't have a PowerPoint, but thank you for your, no, it's not a competition, first off. Your PowerPoint has enriched all of our lives, and I appreciate it. I'm going to be functioning as best I can with that one. I think one thing I want to harp on here constantly, and one thing that I've run into, especially in working with other organizations, is that the foundation of so much of our work, the foundation of so much of the work of organizing people, of working in community, is, to me, clarity and agency. Right? We talk about people first, and what we're talking about is increasing the agency of the people, right? It should be government by the people, not just government towards the people. And so agency, admittedly, I'm a games scholar, so I think a lot about agency in my own work and my own art. But so much of the time when I'm working with organizations, and I do a lot of work right now, I'm working on helping establish two cooperatives and transitioning another from an LLC into a artist-owned cooperative specifically. And so I've been thinking a lot about the sort of structures and the ways that those structures, the default structures of organizational work, tend to not value clarity or agency. By clarity, I mean not just do you know what your title is, right? But also, do you know what your responsibilities are? Do you know what the limits of those responsibilities are? Do you know how to change the situation that you are in, right? If I'm elected to a position in some sort of organization and I don't know how to interface with the other elected members of that organization, or how to delegate responsibilities properly, or how to change the way that the position itself functions or the organization itself functions, that's largely due to a lack of clarity, even if the agency is there. Even if I step in and say, oh, okay, well, you know, there's a lack of clarity here, so I can just do whatever I want, then that becomes a problem for the other people under me who are trying to affect their own agency in the situation. So I keep coming back to those two words for myself. And I think there's this sort of process that we go through as an organization as time goes on, where we build clarity, right? We find those little edge cases and we say, okay, we need to decide it's this way or that way, right? The bylaws keep expanding. The documents keep getting added to. We work in the in the platform committee over and over again to clarify, right? To add more understanding and to build the collective understanding of these principles that we've agreed upon, right? The concern, I think, that I've run into, at least, is oftentimes when I'm working with organizations, the process of clarifying those values, those responsibilities, the way that the organization works, the process of clarifying it leads to an ossification, a sort of stagnancy. The word I keep using in my mind is it's making it concrete, which in my mind becomes concretization, which I don't know if that's an actual word, but who cares? I feel like in any good talk you have to invent a word, so concretization. So there's this sort of balance there, right? The more you clarify things, it becomes easy for those things to become solidified in a way that does not allow for them to change. And that could be a problem because I know, right, the people who made the LLC that I inherited were doing their best. They were doing what they thought was right at the moment for the organization at that time, right? Same with when I became chair of the USPP. I was like, the people who went before me did their best. And they did, a lot of them, really incredible work. Not Joe. I kid. But
My whole week.
You've been joking about it all day, so. But, you know, these people who've come before have done really incredible work. And it was important work. But the circumstances that we are in have changed. Hunter, you were talking so much about how, you know, it is the time right now. And I think that that's not just because of the specific scenarios, specifics of your position in Nevada. I truly believe that from what I've been seeing, from all the work that everyone here has been doing and all the work from our friends across the US, there's so much of the current political moment that is lending itself to these values that we hold, right? People understand and people believe in these values, and they are being violated day in, day out by the organizations, the institutions, and the government that we participate in. So the moment has changed. The situation around us has changed. And when that situation changes, it means that even if these people who came before us did the best work that they possibly could, they could not have necessarily predicted the situation that we are in right now. And I think this is true of the US Pirate Party. I think this is true of every organization. So we have to make sure, then, that the work of clarifying the organization, the values that we have, the people and the roles who are in it, does not lead us to being just the same forever. Because otherwise we cannot adapt to the situation as it evolves and unfolds. One of the things I've noticed so often in my work is that as an organization gains more momentum, as it clarifies and locks in a lot of these processes, even the act of doing that itself over time leads to that organization abandoning some of the more radical elements of its core values in the process of appealing to more people, in the process of just discovering the nuance in them, maybe. And some of that can be good. Some of that can be, we learned new things and we're changing our values to align with that. But so often that is an abandoning, right? It is a stepping back. It is working towards the least common denominator. Our goal as pirates, as individuals within a system, to me, and I know some would disagree about the wording on this, but to me, our goal is nothing less than the complete and utter abolition of systems of oppression. No safe harbor for the enemies of liberty. It's a good book. You should check it out. No safe harbor. And that means that these values that we have mapped our organization to and our lives to are an expression of that goal, an expression of that wish, that we are working towards that, and we've chosen this path to work towards that, which is good. You need a path, right? The thing is, we are in these systems of oppression, right? And our actions are part of them. Okay, so how do we fight against that? Well, in a lot of ways, I've seen so many of the anarchist organizations that I work with. Small groups, ad hoc groups, organizational, working committees, the DSA, goodness knows. They, time and again, try to sort of defend themselves against the tide of the status quo by policing the cultural interactions of the people talking in the group. This is the sort of, we're having a conversation in the platform committee, and then someone says something, and I go, okay, but do you really mean that? Or maybe you should word it this way because we want to, and yes, that work is useful, right? The building of the understanding, the curiosity towards it. But at the same time, that cannot be our main task, right? The making sure that we're all being perfect advocates of liberty. We're never going to be. We are part of a culture that is against liberty, right? Notwithstanding the colonialist empire that we live in, right? But like even just on the daily level, there's so much of the circumstances of this place that are arranged against the liberties that we seek for each other. Okay. So if we cannot simply go, we're gonna try and be perfect, staunch defenders of liberty in every interaction with ourselves and with each other, and by, if we can't be paragons of liberty and build the better world that way, how do we do it? We find the weak point, right? And that's what we've been doing, or trying to do. We find the weak point in the electoral system, in the governmental system. So often, I think we've all kind of collectively learned as an organization over the past 5 or 10 years, that is contesting the uncontested. That is finding those elections, those moments where, we have someone like Diane, right? Where you have someone who is running for office and no one is stepping up to the plate. And the person who's running for office or is an incumbent in office, does not care for value and liberty, does not put people before government, before money, right? Before corporations. They don't put people first. So whether it's, a specific measure on the ballot that was sponsored by one organization or something on the consent agenda, right? Showing up, taking up space, contesting the uncontested is, at least in my mind, the weak point that we have collectively chosen to poke at. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes, which is important. Ideally, in working towards the goal of the complete abolition of oppression, prodding these weak points, pushing at them, will get us closer. And we know, if we do that work, if we show up day after day, the change can happen. We've seen it happen, slow as it may sometimes be. But this is a long fight, right? We've been here for 20 years. We're going to be here for another 20. God damn it. And I think in looking at that long term of the fight, that means that we need to think not just about what is our angle of attack, how are we changing the system by poking at the weak point, by contesting the uncontested, not just what is our angle of attack, but also how are we going to sustain ourselves, right? What will nourish us? What will keep us going for another 20, 30, 40 years? There's this thing that I've been thinking about a lot that keeps coming up as I'm building organizations, community organizations, especially in the arts where I myself have found most joy, which is based on this sort of, to me, it harkens back to a permaculture principle. If you haven't looked up permaculture, please go down that rabbit hole. It's great. Which is to harvest. The first thing you do after you plant is you harvest, right? We're not just growing things to experiment with them. We are harvesting and seeing what that brings us. Also, harvesting is most of the work, is another permaculture principle. So in thinking about, in building organizations for myself, one of these things I keep thinking about is, okay, I'm planting seeds. What is it I'm harvesting? What is it that is nourishing me? What is it that is allowing me to maintain this? What is allowing me to make it a long practice, a practice with longevity? Truthfully, I don't know what that is for us yet. I think individually, it's community, at least in part, right? The reason I'm here is because my friends are here. The reason I'm here is because I've built connections and I care about you. And I know that the work that we're doing, however long it is aligned with my values, with humanistic values, right? But we need to keep an eye not just on what is the harvest for us individually, but also what nourishes us as a community, as an organization. Maybe it's money, but I don't think so. Or I don't think it's just that. In the nonprofit and arts co-op sector that I'm working in, the thing that we keep talking about around this is aligning our financial incentives with our goals, right? An organization in which the financial incentives and the goals of their work are disaligned is just going to end up moving towards the financial incentives. The organization needs to survive, to maintain itself in the long term. And so in order to do that, if you get your money from selling tickets to this one particular experience, if you get your money from going around and getting grants, if you get your money from, then you end up just doing that. Even if that's not the thing that you set out to do, even if the goal that you have is incidental to that. And so the work, I think, before us, and this is me prodding the platform committee, the work, I think, before us, and for the next U.S. Pirate Board, that I would like us to seriously think about is this question of not necessarily financial incentives, but survival incentives, right? Because that includes financial. It can be other things too. What are our survival incentives? How do we align those with the goals that we have? How do we align those with the complete and utter abolition of oppression? How do we align those with our wish that there be no safe harbor for the enemies of liberty. Because it's going to take a long time. I'm excited to do that work with you. And I'm excited to find out how we build the organizational structures of agency and clarity to make that happen. I racked my brain over and over again the past 2 days. I was working on writing this dang thing and thinking about this stuff. And I was like, what is that? What is it that nourishes this community? What is it that nourishes this effort? I know what it is for me, but truthfully, I don't think that's something I can come up with on my own, right? This is a structural thing that we need to build together, which is also part of our values, so that works out pretty well, huh? So yeah, that is my talk, and I want to just leave you with the message of, let's try and find that together. I will be prodding the platform committee, probably, maybe other groups as well, about this. Nope. Nope, not right now. Maybe next year, we'll see. Because I didn't decide to do a PowerPoint, a lot of this was in the more vague terms, and I realize did not necessarily connect to directly the statistics or facts of the work that I am doing. So if you have any questions, I am happy to answer them even into the details of that, but that is it. Thank you. Thanks, my dear friend Mitch.
Rose, I just had a question. First of all, thank you so much for taking the time and giving this presentation.
Yeah, of course.
Fantastic as always. When you took over as Pirate Party captain, we established a second ago it was 2021, which would have meant 15 years of the Pirate Party.
Yeah.
Which means 5 years later, you still saw something in this party to stick around and say it's worth being here and it's worth being around.
Yeah.
So how do you get that? Not to say that any organization owes it to its volunteers to say you need to believe in us and here's the reason why. But what is it that kept you around, that any organization, doesn't have to specifically be us, but what's the thing that you need to do to keep people around even when, some might say, well, I've done all I can. Some might say, once I've been captain, what else can I do? But clearly there's much more to be done outside of being captain. And captain for a year, emeritus for the rest of your life. Even Joe gets that title.
Yeah.
All that to say, what is it about this organization, any organization, that despite hardships, trials, you still find enough passion to stick around and make this happen?
Thank you for the question. I think at the core of it is values alignment. That's why I'm here. At the same time, I think that there's a reason why burnout is such a factor in political work, and is such a factor in the arts world, FYI also, like managing artists, right? Everyone has their own side projects that they're always doing, and that's awesome and great, but as soon as you try and put them all together, it becomes is it related?
Yeah, is it like herding cats?
You're very experienced.
Yes. Yeah. Well, one could say that. So I think the thing that, right, in fighting burnout, because I'll be so honest with you, the past 2 years, I think, I've been kind of basically not involved. I've done a little bit at the state level, popped in and helped out with stuff from time to time, and I feel like I don't want to say I'm being pulled back in, because I don't think that's correct, but I am finding myself enjoying working with the Pirate Party more than I was for the past 2 years, which is great, because I think our values do very much align. In terms of that longevity for maintaining an individual, so much of it, I think, really comes down to clarity, which is why I hammered on that at the beginning, right? regardless of what your agency level is, if you know exactly how to affect change with that and how to interact with the systems around you, people burn out because, and for me as well, like when I was captain, the reason why I left that feeling not completely burnt out, but definitely like, wow, that was too much, is because I think there wasn't as much clarity in the role as there should be. And I know that there's been some work since I was captain to mitigate that a bit. I don't know, you be the judge of whether that's worked. But like, it becomes the sort of thing where if you are passionate about something and there is a lack of clarity, you will do more, right? And I think not just more than is maybe healthy in terms of our effort and our daily will to expend on that, but also more than is good for the organization as well. Because if one individual is taking on all of this work and then is not delegating that, especially when you're thinking longevity-wise, that means that if that individual gets burnt out, suddenly all of that organizational knowledge gets gone, like it disappears. We have this problem too, right? We have previous very involved members who left, and then we go, oh no, they had the keys to that website. The California Pirate Party, before I restarted it, had existed and was pretty big for a while, and then everyone went poof. And I still can't get the keys to their dang Facebook page, right? And the old website. So it's just like, it's frustrating to be in a space, in an organizational space, and not know, I think, the boundaries and the tools that you have at your disposal. So truthfully, I think in terms of longevity, once you have someone with values, the most important thing, and like you will always find someone whose values match yours. If you like, well, yeah, I think actually that's a true statement. I think you will always find someone whose values match yours, even if you're like a goddamn oil company, you know? But you know, we can only put our best foot forward with our values, and then I think build the structures of clarity behind that to make sure that we're supporting each other into the long term. That's the closest thing I have to an answer for you.
And that's more than answer enough for me, so thank you.
Cool.
I still have questions, but it's okay.
Oh, Joe, by all means.
I'm just saying, you say you're thinking about coming back? Join us.
Yeah.
That's not a question.
I'm here. I'm here as the California rep, Joe. I don't know what you want.
Is California going to start on you're coming back to the regular national meetings?
Me personally,
Yes.
I don't know.
Please.
Heard.
Maybe.
I hear you.
I'm glad I'm heard.
You're heard. I make no guarantees, my friend.
I don't expect it.
Any other questions, comments, concerns, deep thoughts, harangues from my friends here? And yes.
When you do come back,
Uh-huh.
will you serve on the council yet again?
Well, as previously mentioned, not this year. I have not ruled it out. Maybe. Maybe. I don't know. Truthfully, like, now this is becoming a personal interview.
You don't have to answer.
I know. No, I mean, the short and long of it is I am trying to effect change on the local and community level right now. And if at any point I feel like I'm able to hand enough of that off to other people that I can spend more time working with National Pirates, then I will. That's it.
And I must say, working and trying to make changes at the local level is as pirated an activity as we can ask for. So thank you, Rose.
Yeah, of course. Cool. Thank you all.